Welcome to the Eternal format, the unofficial format where every set is legal from the original base set to the most recent set, with the ban list to keep things balanced. Today's best of 3 match is Alakazam Star Box versus Muk Alolan Muk-GX. To learn more about the Eternal format, check the links in the description. First, we're going to be looking at Alakazam Star Box. Alakazam Star has the skill copy attack, which costs 3 colorless energy. It lets you discard a Pokemon from your hand and choose one of its attacks. If Alakazam Star has the energy necessary to use that attack, it copies it. We are going to power up this attack using Cherrim and Holon's Electrode. Cherrim has the Spring Bloom ability, which lets you attach a grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon that do not have a rulebox as often as you like during your turn. Meanwhile, Holon's Electrode has an effect that allows it to be attached from hand to one of your Pokemon as a special energy. While it's attached as a special energy, it provides 2 energy of any type, so basically 2 rainbow energy. But when you attach it in this way, you have to return an energy that was already attached to the Pokemon to your hand. So the plan is we use Cherrim to attach a grass energy to Alakazam Star, then we use the attachment for turn to attach Holon's Electrode, returning the grass energy to our hand, and then we reattach the grass energy using Cherrim. Alakazam Star is a Gold Star Pokemon, which means that it has a rule saying you can only have 1 in your deck. However, this does not count as a rulebox for gameplay purposes, so we can use Cherrim without issue. But the fact that we can still only have 1 is still a limitation, so most of the time we are actually going to use a skill copy with Mew. Mew has the Memories of Dawn ability, which allows it to use the attacks of each of your benched basic Pokemon, including Alakazam Star. So we will mostly use a skill copy with Mew. Finally, what are the attacks that we are going to copy with the skill copy? First, we have Cinderace EX, which has the Flare Strike attack, which does 280 damage. We actually do not care about its effect. Its effect is during your next turn, this Pokemon cannot use a Flare Strike. And we do not care about it because we are technically not using Flare Strike, we are using a skill copy. Another important attacker is Greninja EX, which is in here mainly for the Mirage Barrage attack, which tells you to discard 2 energy attached from this Pokemon, and does 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Greninja EX also has the Shinobi Blade attack, which does 170 damage, and allows you to get whichever card you want from your deck and put it into your hand. Finally, we have Noivern EX, which has a couple of disruptive attacks, which sometimes come in handy. Before moving on to my opponent's list, I wanted to briefly mention a list called LBS, which was built by Mysterious Player. It uses essentially the same idea with the Cherrim and Holon's Pokemon, which in this case is Holon's Magneton, but it has the same effect. Just it attacks directly with the basic Pokemon. I wanted to show it mainly because, let's say, I stole the idea of using Cherrim and Holon's Pokemon from this very list. Finally, let's talk about Muk Alolan Muk-GX, which is the list that was built and playing in this match by shinyeievui. Muk Alolan Muk-GX's first attack is the most relevant one. It costs 1 Psychic and 2 colorless energy, and it poisons the opponent's active Pokemon. But between turns, so doing Pokemon checkup, you put 8 damage counters on the poison Pokemon instead of just 1. Its GX attack is also relevant. It costs 0 energy, and it poisons and paralyzes the opponent's active Pokemon. If MukMuk has at least 4 energies attached, the poison does 15 damage counters instead of just 1. There are ways to further increase the poison damage. The first one is with the Stadium Verbank City Gym, which just says doing Pokemon checkup, put 2 extra damage counters on poison Pokemon. And then there is Radiant Hisuian Sneasler that has an ability which has essentially the same effect, but it just works on your opponent's poison Pokemon, not your own. Now, one of the main ways to get rid of the poison special condition is to get out of the active spot. However, this deck has ways to prevent the opponent from just doing that. First, there is Dragalge that has an ability that says your opponent's poison Pokemon cannot retreat. And second, there is the Stadium Dust Island, which says that whenever a player's Pokemon gets switched out of the active spot with the effect of a trainer card, the new active Pokemon becomes affected by the same special condition. So the new active Pokemon, if, for example, you get out of the active spot with Switch or with Guzma, not only remains poisoned, but it remains poisoned with the same special conditions, so if you were getting 8 damage counters before, you keep getting them after the switch. Finally, I want to talk about the infamous Hypnotoxic Laser item, which is another way to poison the opponent's active Pokemon, and on a coin flip, if you flip heads, it also puts the opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. So, starting off with game 1, I went second in this game, and I started with Mew, which is quite a good starter because, among other things, it has a free tweet. I took 2 mulligans, so my opponent has 2 extra cards in their hand, and also they started with Crobat V, which is a bit unfortunate. So, like I said, my opponent went first, and during the first turn they want to get all the basics in play. So first they play Quick Ball, which lets them get MukMuk itself, and then they attach an energy. Then they play another Quick Ball, which lets them get Ditto Prison Star, which is a super cool card. It is a basic Pokemon which has an ability that allows it to evolve into any stage 1. Its downside is it's a Prison Star Pokemon, so you can't have 2 in your deck, and when it gets discarded, it instead gets sent to the Lost Zone. And finally, they just have a Scrap in hand, so that gets benched. And they also play a Luxury Ball, which is a staple of the Eternal format. It lets you get any Pokemon from your deck, except Pokemon level X. The catch is that you cannot play it if you already have a Luxury Ball in your discard pile, so most decks will run it as a one-off. And with that, they get a Baltoy. And that's their turn 1. So now it's my turn. I put Minun onto my bench. Minun has a Poké Power which says that if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 2 cards. This is actually a misplay, because in this matchup I am going to get knocked out during Pokemon Checkup, not during my opponent's turn, so I will basically never get a chance to use this Poké Power, but at this point in the game I didn't realize it yet. So after this, I play Pokemon Communication, which basically allows me to trade one of the Pokemon in my hand, in this case Iono Electrode, with another Pokemon from my deck, in this case Cherubi. And then I attach the grass to Mew, and I play the Lapras, which has a Poké Power which allows me to get a supporter card from my deck when I play Lapras onto my bench. And with Lapras, I get Professor's Research, which is a supporter you rarely want to play in this deck, since you don't like to discard many cards, but sometimes it's what you want, and this is one of those times. So I play the Professor's Research and draw 7 new cards. And for good measure, I play the Artazon, which allows me to get another Mew into play, in case my active gets knocked out. And finally, I attack using Mew's Encounter Attack, which allows me to get a Pokemon from my deck. In this case, it's Alakazam Star. So, during my opponent's next turn, they put Claydol into play. Claydol is another great staple of the Eternal format. It has the Cosmic Power, Poké Power, which allows you to put up to 2 cards from your hand to the bottom of your deck, and then fill your hand up to 6. One of the greatest draw engines ever. Unfortunately, it does not fit into my Alakazam deck, otherwise I would play it too. Then with Artazon they get another Baltoy. They use Cosmic Power, and then they attach a double colorless energy to MukMuk, which is now ready to attack. With Evolution Incense, they can get any evolution Pokemon from their deck, and they choose another Claydol, which then gets played as an evolution of Ditto Prison Star. So right now they can use a second Cosmic Power. Then they play Guzma, which allows them to gust one of my Pokemon and switch. So they gust Cherubi, which is the basic needed to put Cherrim into play, so I basically will not be able to properly attack next turn. And for good measure, they also bump my stadium by playing Burbank City Gym. And then they attack with Severe Poison. So during Pokemon Checkup, my Cherubi gets knocked out. And I promote my Mew. So it's my turn again, and I play a Rescue Stretcher to put my Cherubi back into my hand and then immediately put it into play. And with the Level Ball I can get any Pokemon with 90 HP or less, which there are several in this list. And I use that to put yet another Cherubi onto my bench, so my opponent won't just be able to knock out one to completely disable my strategy. And then I use Encounter again, getting the Cherrim. Then my opponent is in their next turn puts Dragalge into play, which I'm not so sure is needed in this matchup since literally every single one of the Pokemon I get in play get one shot by the 8 damage counter poison from MukMuk's first attack. Then they use the first Cosmic Power, drawing 3 cards, second Cosmic Power, and then they find Evolution Incense, which gets them a third Claydol. I spoke to my opponent after the games, and they told me they really like the consistency of having 3 Claydols. And so, yeah, they use the third Claydol too, and they attack with Severe Poison, which results in the knockout of my poor Mew. Now, I put the Cherrim into play, and with Evolution Incense, I find a second Cherrim just for good measure. And then I put Alakazam Star onto my bench, and I play Rocket Sadmin. Rocket Sadmin is a common supporter in this format. It has almost the same effect of N, in case you're familiar with it. Rocket Sadmin makes both players shuffle their hand into their deck, and then each player draws a number of cards up to the number of prize cards they have remaining. The difference with N is that players can choose to draw fewer cards than that, even 0, if they so choose. And that sometimes can make a difference, especially against middle decks if you want to have more cards in your deck. You'll notice that is not the only supporter I had in hand. In fact, I also had Cynthia's Feelings, which is another draw supporter, but unfortunately for me, it has the same issue as Minun in this matchup. And because my stuff is knocked out, not during my opponent's last turn, but during Pokemon Checkup, I cannot use it for the full effect. So I chose to play Rocket Sadmin for my draw. And with Rocket Sadmin I find Professor's Letter, which lets me get 2 basic energies from my deck. And now with Cherrim I attach the 1 energy to Mew. Then I attach Holon's Electrode, using my attachment for turn. And then I reattach the basic grass energy to Mew. And now I am able to use Mew's ability to copy Skill Copy. The only thing I'm missing is an attack to copy from my hand, but with Evolution Incense I can get Noivern EX. Noivern EX in particular has the Dominating Echo attack, which does 140 damage, and prevents my opponent from playing Special Energy and Stadium cards from their hand during their next turn. You'll notice 140 damage, but MukMuk here is weak to Psychic, so it's actually gonna do 280 damage, which is enough to knock out MukMuk. So this is what I do. I use Skill Copy, copying Dominating Echo, and MukMuk goes down, and I take my 3 prizes. Now, my opponent promoted Dragalge, and during the next turn they put Radiant Hisuian Sneasler into play. They play the first Cosmic Power, and they find Hypnotoxic Laser, which poisons Mew, and because they flipped heads, also puts it to sleep. Then they use the second Claydol, and the third one, and then they just pass. However, I am poisoned, they have Sneasler in play, and there is Virbank City Gym in play, which means that the poison is actually going to place 5 damage counters on Mew, which gets knocked out. I then promote Cherrim. It doesn't really matter what I promote here since I have Floatstone in hand. And so first thing I do is attach that Floatstone. Then I play my own Luxury Ball to get another Holon's Electrode. With Rex Q Stretcher, again I put a Pokemon into my hand, which I then put immediately onto my bench, which is Mew. And then same thing to power up the Mew. I then play Field Blower to get rid of both my opponent's Forest Seal Stone and the Stadium Virbank City Gym. Then I retreat Cherrim, and I am once again able to use a Skill Copy. In particular, this time around I'm copying a Flare Strike, so that's 280 damage, which is plenty enough to knock out the poor Dragalge. Now, my opponent plays a Fog Crystal, which allows them to get another MukMuk. They finally are able to attach a double colorless energy to it. They attach Floatstone to the active Pokemon. They play the various Cosmic Powers. They find another Fog Crystal, which they play for no effect, shuffling their deck. Third Cosmic Power. They put Dust Island into play. Play the Hypnotoxic Laser. This time they flip tails, so I just get poisoned. And then the supporter for turn is Guzma Hala. They chose to discard 2 other cards from their hand, so they're able to get a Stadium, a Pokemon Tool, and a Special Energy from their deck. And in particular, they take a Bravery Charm, a Dust Island, and a double colorless energy. They attach the Bravery Charm to MukMuk, increasing its HP by 50, so I can't just knock it out with Dominating Echo this time around. And then they just pass. My Mew survives because Verbank City Gym is no longer in play, so the poison just does 30. And then I can just attack using Skill Copy to copy Mirage Barrage, doing 120 damage to 2 of my opponent's Pokemon, which can be to Claydol, which get me the final 2 prizes, thus winning me this game. Moving on to game 2, again I went second in this game. My starter was once again Mew, whereas my opponent's starter was Sneasler. During my opponent's first turn, they did not do much, they just put Scrap onto their bench. Meanwhile, I had Buddy-Buddy Poffin, which allowed me to search my depth for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them onto my bench. So with that, I get to Cherubi, learning from my mistake in the early game of game 1. And then I play Artisan, which allows me to get a second Mew. Then I attach a basic energy to Mew and attack with Encounter, getting Azelf. Azelf is another staple of this format. It has the Time Walk Poké Power, which gets activated when you play Azelf from your hand onto your bench. It allows you to look at your face-down prize cards. Then you may choose a Pokemon you find there, you show it to your opponent and put it into your hand, and then you replace that Pokemon with whatever card from your hand face down. Crucially, Time Walk does not tell you to shuffle your prizes afterwards. So since you looked at them, you are gonna know exactly where each of your prize cards is, and so you can basically choose which prize cards you get. So I end my turn by using Encounter. And then in my opponent's next turn, they use Artisan to get a Balto into play. Then they bump my Stadium by playing Dust Island and pass. So it's a bit of a bricky start from my opponent. Meanwhile, I can play Evolution Incense to get my first Cherrim of the game into play. And then I play the Azelf, therefore I use the Time Walk Poké Power. I look at my prizes, and here we can see the reason why I played Azelf. Lapras was in the prizes. So I take it, and I replace it with a Versus Seeker, which I do not need in the early game, so I can stash it there for use later. I will keep looking at the prize cards just to remind everyone that I know where they are. Then I play Lapras. I use the Support Navigation Poké Power, getting again Professor's Research. Before playing Research, though, I play Computer Search, which is the ace spec of choice. You discard 2 cards from your hand, and then you get whatever card you want from your deck. So I discard the Faba and Pokemon Communication to get Skyfield, which I put into play immediately. And then I play Professor's Research. Skyfield, for those who are not familiar, allows each player to have 8 Pokemon onto their bench. And my thought process was I do not have space for Alakazam Star right now, since I have 5 bench Pokemon already, so I need Skyfield to be able to attack this turn. However, I am still not able to attack because I did not find Alakazam or Holon's Electrode. So I put another Mew onto my bench, I attach a basic energy to one of my Mews, and then since I cannot properly attack, let's say, I just use Encounter, getting Alakazam Star. You notice I attached the Technical Machine Evolution here. It was just to get rid of it, since it is not needed in this matchup. Then my opponent finally gets to play Claydol, which hopefully will get them out of this bricky situation. With the Fog Crystal, they managed to get MukMuk into play. They attach a double colorless energy to it. And then with Evolution Incense, they managed to get Dragalge in play too. Then they use Claydol's Pocket Power. They find Verbank City Gym, so they have bumped my Skyfield, and as such, I have to discard the Pokemon from my bench. I choose to discard Lapras because later on in the game, I will be able to recover it with some cards in order to use the Pocket Power again. Then they play Luxury Ball, getting beat to Prism Star. And they play N, which is the card I mentioned earlier that is similar to Rocket's Admin. So I shuffle my hand into my deck, and this is my new hand. They do the same, they find a Quick Ball, which they just fail without finding any Pokemon. Then they play Crobat V, which was the starter in the first game. It allows you to fill your hand up to 6 when you play it from your hand onto your bench. They attach Forest Sealstone, which they use this time. Forest Sealstone grants the Pokemon V it's attached to this V-Star Power, which just lets them get whatever card they want out of their deck. So they use it, and they find Hypnotoxic Laser, which again poisons me. And they pass, which results in my Mew being knocked out because, again, Virbank City Gym is in play, and Sneasler was in play. I did comment I did not fully agree with this play because if Mew wasn't knocked out and was still in play, I had absolutely zero room to play Alakazam Star, so they were safe from whatever thing I had up my sleeve. But that's the play they did, so I promote Mew. With Level Ball, I find Alakazam Star, which I'm able to put into play. Then with Professor's Letter, I find 2 Grass Energy, and I attach them immediately with Cherrim, one to this bench Mew and one to Alakazam Star. I also attach these other Grass Energy to Alakazam. The thought process here is, let's say something bad happens to Cherrim, I can still attach Holon's Electrode to Alakazam. 1 energy would bounce back to my hand, but Alakazam would still have enough energy to attack. Finally, with Pokemon Communication, I trade a Mew for Holon's Electrode, which I then attach to my active, and then I play Rocket's Admin just to have a better hand going into next turn. Again, I attach another energy to this benched Mew with the same thought process. And then I'm ready to attack, and I choose to use Mirage Barrage, which knocks out Claydol and Ditto Prism Star, granting me 2 prizes. Ditto Prism Star here went to their discard pile. It should have gone to the Lost Zone, which I think eventually they did realize. But anyway, they attached a Psychic Energy to MukMuk, and then they played the Guzma Hala, getting Floatstone, Dust Island, and Horror Psychic Energy, which is a special energy that provides a Psychic Energy, and when attached to a Psychic Pokemon, puts 2 damage counters on the attacked Pokemon whenever the Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged by an opponent's attack. So they attach the Floatstone to Sneasler, which is now able to get out of the way, and now MukMuk is active, and they attack with Severe Poison, knocking out my in between turns. I promote the other Mew. I attach Holon's Electrode, getting back one of the Grass Energies, and I choose to bench this Mew and to attach this energy to it, just to have it ready. Then I play my Artazon to bump their Stadium, and I attack with Flare Strike, which even without considering the weakness does enough damage to knock out MukMuk. So I take my 3 prizes. I should note I left as my last prize Teammates, which is a card that is absolutely useless in this matchup for the same reasons as Minun. I didn't know that I was leaving this one for last since I played Azelf earlier. My opponent then played Artazon to get Balto into play, and then played Fog Crystal to get another MukMuk. They attached a double colorless energy to it and bumped my Artazon. Then they played the Hypnotoxic Laser, and they used Versus Seeker, which is an item that lets you recover a supporter card from your discard pile, to play another N. And now I am about to get a very important life lesson. because this N is going to reduce my hand size down to 1. And yeah, they then realize the mistake about Ditto. And this will basically result in my demise, because I need to be able to find cards in order to attack and to get my last prize, which I will never be able to do. In particular, I have Holon selected, with which I attach to this Mew, reattaching the basic energy using Cherrim. And then I just pass because I cannot really attack. I should have maybe done something else. I could not retreat because of Drag Edge, but I could have used the encounter attack to at least maybe thin the deck out a little bit and maybe find an attack for next turn. But I didn't do that, which is a bad misplay, even though I don't think it would have changed the outcome of this game. So Mew goes down to Poison. I promote the other Mew. And then my opponent eventually finds Prime Catcher, which has the same effect as Guzma, but it is an item. And they put my Alakazam Star into the active spot, and their MukMuk into their active spot. With Guzma and Hala, they're able to find another double colorless energy. And this allows them to eventually, at the end of their turn, well, they did a lot of things this turn, to attack using the GX attack Nasty Go Mix, which, again, has the same effect of knocking me out with Poison in between turns. And, yeah, I found another Cherrim, which is not worth much. I decide to sacrifice it. They, however, find a Guzma, which means my Mew is going down. And yeah, at this point, it's just a matter of playing out the rest of the game. I did, however, in this last turn, find a way to use Professor's Research. Namely, I drew a Versus Seeker. However, this is not enough to make me survive this game, because even though I'm able to play Rescue Stretcher, Level Ball, and Buddy-Buddy Poffin to get my Pokemon back into play, all my energy is here in the discard pile. Because for some reason I chose to put it into play when it was not needed. Now I do not have it anymore. And I cannot attack. So my opponent can just take their last prize card on Azelf. Moving on finally to game 3. Once again I went second. This time I chose to go second. Normally with this deck I chose to go first because I need Cherrim in play to attack. But game 1 I won going second. Game 2 was going well going second. So I chose to go second again, but this was not an optimal play. I started with Cherubi, and my opponent started with MukMuk, and I also had a mulligan, so they have an extra card in hand. And the first turn was actually pretty scary. So first of all, they grab a Baltoy with the Focus Crystal, and then they bench Sneasler. Then with Quick Ball, they grab Crobat V. They also play an Evolution Incense just to thin their hand down, and they play Hypnotoxic Laser. So now my Cherubi is poisoned, and we have already established that my opponent has plenty of ways to increase the poison damage. So if they manage to put Virbank City Gym in play, and they already have Sneasler in play, my Cherubi is going to be knocked out doing Pokemon Checkup, and I am going to lose before even my turn 1, which is exceptionally unfortunate considering I have plenty of basics in my hand that I chose not to put down during setup. But anyway, then they play Crobat V, which allows them to draw 4 cards in this scenario. They play another Fog Crystal, getting a basic energy and attaching it to MukMuk. They get another Baltoy with the Quick Ball. And luckily for me, they just pass. They cannot find the stadium, so my Cherubi survives with 10 HP. And I breathe a small sigh of relief. But like I said, it's a small sigh of relief because at the end of the day, I'm still breaking. So I bench Cherubi, I bench Azelf, which once again lets me take a look at my prize card and find a Pokemon there. But as you can see, there are no Pokemon here. So yeah, all I can do is attach an energy to retreat my Cherubi so it does not get KO'd, and I promote Azelf as a sacrifice, basically. So yeah, my opponent has absolutely no issue getting double Claydol online. They find the Bravery Charm and the double Colorless Energy to attach to MukMuk. They find another MukMuk too. And yeah, finally they attack with Severe Poison again, knocking out my Azelf doing Pokemon Checkup. And yeah, I find the Lapras, which, since this is a desperate situation, I get research with it. I bench Alakazam so I do not discard it with research. And then I get 7 new cards, but yet again, I cannot really play most of them. I grab a Mew with Luxury Ball, and I attach Technical Machine Evolution, which is not needed in this matchup, so I just want to get rid of it. And then I pass. And yeah, my opponent finds Guzma, so my Alakazam is a goner at this point. They thin their hand down to use their Claydols. Then they retreat their Claydol with Floatstone. And yeah, Severe Poison, my Alakazam is down. I draw a Rescue Stretcher, so I can shuffle my Pokemon back into the deck, namely Azelf, Alakazam, and the Greninja EX. Notice that the Rescue Stretcher says shuffle 3 Pokemon, not up to 3. So I had to shuffle Azelf as well, even though it is basically useless in my situation here. Then I play Iono because I am desperate to draw some cards. I bench another Mew, and I just pass because I have no way, basically, of getting an attack going this turn. And I do not feel like getting a Cherrim in play, which will just get Guzma, I presume. So then my opponent draws for turn. They find another Bravery Charm. They burn another Evolution Incense. And yeah, I was correct in assuming they would find Guzma. So they choose to knock out my Cherubi. And yeah, they've taken 3 prizes already, and I have basically accomplished nothing in this game. At this time I grab the Cherrim because why not? I retreat into Lapras, and I just pass, hoping they don't have yet another Guzma. Unfortunately, they have a Versus Seeker, which gets them yet another Guzma. So yeah, they have a bunch more plays they can make, but essentially they have won. So yeah, Cherrim goes down as well to Severe Poison, and the rest few turns are just me getting destroyed, essentially. So, surprisingly enough, given how things were going up until the middle of Game 2, MukMuk managed to win this match. This is a bit surprising also because, generally speaking, 3-prize Pokemon tend to not do well in the Eternal format, with the obvious exception of Rapid Strike or Shifu VMAX. This list in particular did pretty well, not only in this match, but also in a tournament. In particular, shinyeievui played it in a tournament in which they won every single game, so this list clearly has potential, even though maybe it's not one of the best decks in format. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions about the game or the lists, feel free to comment below. Thanks again to shinyeievui for playing this match, and I'll see you next time.